day 6 of 10 days thinking about Catherine Howard, and today we're going to think about Frances Dereham. So this in a way is kind of a part 2 of these early relationships of Catherine Howard. The kind of Frances Dereham and Henry Manox things kind of entwine a little bit. So if you haven't watched my video on Henry Manox, so on before this, I suggest watching that first. Frances Dereham, he was a lot older than her in comparison to Henry Manox. He was born in between 1506 and 1509, so he was around 16 years older than her, considering she is at best kind of 15, 16 at that point. That's a significant age gap. He was related to her by marriage. They were second cousins by marriage, so no blood relation there. He had formerly worked for the second Duke, Thomas Howard, Catherine's uncle, and had recently entered the service of the Duchess. There doesn't seem to be any dispute in any of the accounts I've read that in the summer, or possibly slightly later, 1538, Catherine Howard became sexually involved with Frances Dereham. I haven't read anywhere who disputes that, so that seems to have definitely happened. Again, we might want to consider the consent part of this. She was around 15, 16, he was around 30, so massive age gap there. But from the people that describe their relationship, it seems as if they were infatuated with each other. If you remember back to when we talked about Henry Manox, there's this guy called Edward Waldegrave, who's a friend of Dereham and was related to Manox. Now, he's very much Dereham's friend here, and what he likes to do is chase after the friends of the person that Dereham is interested in. So he's pursuing the other ladies, and he is arranging for these kind of secret meetups. Fraser describes this as a more serious relationship, and they were reported as kissing and cuddling like sparrows, whatever that means. So Catherine and Dereham start referring to each other as husband and wife. They give each other gifts, and these increasingly become more domestic, like bands for his shirt or sleeves for his shirt and that sort of thing. Them calling themselves husband and wife, and the fact that they seem to have slept together, could suggest that they've made this kind of vow to be married. Now, don't forget that in the medieval and Tudor period, promising yourself to each other and then consummating the marriage was largely enough to constitute being married. Sometimes I think there had to be like a witness to the promise, but for all we know, there could have been. And this wouldn't be unusual for a girl who really thought they were going to marry that person. There's also evidence of Dereham saying, "Don't worry, I know how to not get you pregnant." Now, if we think about their absolute lack of education in that department, these young women, there's no reason to assume that it wouldn't be particularly gullible of them to believe that they haven't got anybody telling them otherwise. And this, for me, is where an issue of consent really comes in, because yes, she seemed, infatuated with him and interested in him, and there wasn't necessarily any abuse there. But if he's promising her, he knows how to not get her pregnant, and she believes him, and that's the reason she's going forward with this, then for me, she's kind of gone into that under false pretense. Let me know if you disagree. Now, this is where Henry Manox creeps back in. He's very jealous of this relationship. He then writes a letter to her step-grandmother, explaining what's happening. And it seems that he's not just jealous of Catherine, he's kind of jealous because he thought Frances Dereham was his friend, etc. In his letter, he's saying that Frances Dereham doesn't love Catherine and he never loved me either, sort of thing. So it seems like he's been double burnt in a way. Now, here where it's just a bit bizarre, really, if you think this is the second time the Duchess has heard about this and she's caught them having a cuddle, she doesn't really seem to have gone to any great lengths to stop it, which is surprising, really. A lot happens in early 1539. So firstly, her father dies, so you've got that going on. This is when we sort of see her uncle, the third Duke of Norfolk, as he becomes stepping in, trying to get her a position at court, because he's heard Anne of Cleves is likely to be coming. There's going to be a position there for some lady. It's good for him to get her in there. So he's looking to get her in. So she's got this sort of excitement of court coming up. Also, Francis Dereham has to go off to Ireland. Now, he leaves Catherine Howe with £100 to look after for him. And this is supposed to sort of indicate the seriousness of their relationship, but it could just be the seriousness on his part. He wants to come back and marry her, but she seems to be pulling away a little bit. He's getting a bit angry and a little bit possessive. So while Dereham's away, Catherine joins the court. Her feelings definitely seem to have cooled, and that's where she meets the dashing young Thomas Culpeper. Again, let me know what you think about this relationship. The ages bother me. She does seem to know her own mind. She seems to be able to stop these relationships when she's had enough. But yeah, it doesn't sit well though, does it? It doesn't sit well. Do let me know what you think. And I'll see you tomorrow when we're going to think about her life at court.